Did you know that in Australia, crocodiles and sharks used to be small fry compared to the local Megafauna? Today I will tell you about such giants from the past that even the most terrible monsters from movies seem like children's toys. Australia is like a portal to the past, where monsters, the size of entire buses, roamed the earth. Let's dive into this wild world. Let's take a look at who lived there and why these beasts could drown out any noise with their roar. If megafauna is unfamiliar, it refers to animals over 99 pounds. While humans fit this, scientists focus on larger animals like elephants, giraffes, and rhinos. Among the most terrifying prehistoric Australian animals is the giant python, significantly larger than humans like elephants, giraffes, rhinos, and others. One of the most terrifying prehistoric Australian animals that tops the list is the giant python, also known as the Titanoboa. It measured about 33 feet long, making it even bigger than the South American anaconda or the Asian reticulated python. This python hunted birds, reptiles, and mammals in the thick underbrush near water bodies. In 1992, paleontologists found its fossilized remains in Blackfields, Queensland, and determined that it was the largest snake ever to exist in Australia. Fortunately, this giant python, which lived in Blavdowns, went extinct about 4 million years ago. That ever existed in Australia. Fortunately, this giant python that lived in Blavdowns went extinct about 4 million years ago, at the beginning of the Pleistocene epoch. Marsupial lions reached lengths of about 5 feet, which made them relatively small compared to other animals. However, they were among the most dangerous predators in Australia at that time. The teeth of marsupial lions resembled those of rodents, and instead of fangs, they used their front incisors for hunting. Researchers believe that these animals could easily crush bones with their powerful jaws. Marsupial lions had a strong bite force, stronger than that of modern tigers, which allowed them to take down prey in just a few seconds. Marsupial lions coexisted with the first humans in Australia and were likely hunted to extinction by them. Kinkanas were one of the rare species of crocodiles that were well adapted to life on land. Their body length was 19.5 feet, and their powerful legs allowed them to lift their bodies high off the ground. So, kinkanas could easily chase down their prey. In addition, they had sharp teeth, which sets them apart from modern crocodiles that typically grab and hold onto their prey until it dies. Like many members of Australia's megafauna, kinkanas went extinct about 40,000 years ago, presumably due to human impact. Diprotodons were actually giant kangaroos. They stood nearly 10 feet tall, which allowed them to reach the highest branches of the trees. They had 4 long toes with claws on their front paws, which also helped them gather food. Paleontologists, who studied several skeletons of these ancient kangaroos, noted that they had extremely strong skulls, evidence of powerful jaws. The legs of the Procoptodons were also strong, which indicates their ability to move quickly. In case of danger, when they couldn't escape from predators, these creatures defended themselves with their powerful tails. Diprotodons went extinct about 50,000 years ago, and the exact reason for their disappearance remains unknown. Diprotodons are the largest known marsupial animals. These herbivorous creatures reached heights of up to 10 feet and weighed as much as 5,500 pounds. Diprotodons had inward curving toes, which were perfect for digging burrows. However, considering their large size, it's unlikely that they lived in burrows. Scientists believe that this trait was inherited from smaller ancestors. The closest living relatives of Diprotodons are wombats. Diprotodons disappeared about 55,000 years ago. Before humans arrived in Australia, their main enemies could only have been giant lizards and crocodiles. The exact reasons for the extinction of Diprotodons remain unknown. The most likely factors could have been climate change or hunting by humans. The Haas eagles were one of the main enemies of the Moa birds, which I'll introduce you to a bit later. The wingspan of this predator was up to 8.5 feet, and individual birds could weigh as much as 31 pounds. The most dangerous features of these eagles were their agility and high speed. Watching their potential prey from above, they would dive down rapidly and tear it apart. The claws of the Haas eagles were so powerful that they could break bones. There is evidence that these predators sometimes attack people. They went extinct with the Moa birds, hunted by humans and losing food. These, on the one hand, they were exterminated by people, and on the other hand, they lost their food source due to the disappearance of these flightless birds. The huge Moa birds lived not in Australia, but in neighboring New Zealand. The tallest members of this species could reach heights of up to 12 feet. And they weighed up to 551 pounds. These birds were herbivores and led a peaceful lifestyle. For a long time, nothing threatened their existence, so they lost their feathers. But with the first people in Australia, their lives changed forever. Hunters wiped them out in 100 years, giving no chance to adapt or develop defenses. Hunters wiped them out in just 100 years, without giving them a chance to adapt or develop defense strategies. Megalania is the largest lizard known to science. To this day, scientists have not been able to find a complete skeleton of these creatures, so estimates of their size vary. Some experts talk about a length of 19.5 feet, while others point out that the Megalania was 10 feet longer. There's also a suggestion that this massive lizard had venomous saliva filled with dangerous bacteria. More, there is also a suggestion that this huge lizard had poisonous saliva, saturated with dangerous bacteria. Scientists believe that these giants are the ancestors of modern monitor lizards. Megalania is one of the largest turtles, over 16 feet long. 2 side horns added to its look. The head of this turtle was adorned with numerous horns, giving it a devilish appearance. 2 horns were located on the sides of its head, giving it an unusual appearance. The remains of Megalania were first found in 1879. The year was 1879, in Queensland, Australia. Initially, scientists thought it was a giant lizard, but soon they realized they were dealing with a new species of animals. Megalania also had spikes on its tail that served as protection against predators. These unusual creatures went extinct about 2,000 years ago, and the exact reasons for their extinction remain unknown. In ancient Australia, there were giant geese that stood about 6.5 feet tall and weighed around 530 pounds. Scientists suggest that not only were there giant geese, but also that these birds were herbivores, since they lacked the sharp claws typical of carnivorous birds. Instead, they had a large and powerful beak, possibly capable of crushing hard objects like nuts. Since they lacked the sharp claws typical of carnivorous birds. Instead, they had a large and powerful beak, possibly capable of crushing hard objects like nuts. In May 2010, archaeologists exploring Australian caves discovered rock paintings depicting these birds. This suggests that giant geese played an important role in the lives of ancient people, being a source of food. This may have been one of the reasons for their extinction around 40,000 years ago. Finally, let me tell you about the unusual representatives of the species Zygomaturus hackeri, which don't have a name in any other languages besides Latin. These animals were no longer than 3 feet and 3 inches, and they usually weighed around 66 pounds. What makes them comparable to modern sheep? They had elongated faces, like anteaters, and accordingly, they led a similar way of life. These unusual creatures fed on ants, larvae, and worms, and their spiky bodies protected them from predators. Like many other ancient species, these creatures went extinct several thousand years ago, probably due to human activity. Paleontological studies show that ancient Australia was home to megafauna, including large animals like lizards and kangaroos that were 19.5 feet long, standing twice as tall as a human. New discoveries shed light on the characteristics of these giants that roamed the tropics of Australia 40,000 to 60,000 years ago, as well as possible reasons for their extinction. New discoveries shed light on the characteristics of these giants that roamed the Australian tropics 40,000 to 60,000 years ago. and also to figure out the possible reasons for their extinction. These animals were the largest land creatures to inhabit Australia after the dinosaurs. Understanding their ecological role and the environmental consequences of their extinction continues to be an important challenge for Australian paleontology. Scientists have excavated fossilized remains of various animals from 4 sites in the South Walker Creek region of northeastern Australia. Then they conducted a detailed analysis of the sites themselves. To determine the age of the fossils and reconstruct the living conditions of these ancient animals, studies showed that the life of megafauna in the tropical Australian savanna during that period was significantly different from the conditions in the southern part of the continent. At that time, the animals in northern Australia were noticeably different from their southern counterparts. For example, giant crocodiles, which were previously thought to have gone extinct long before humans appeared, continued to exist on the Australian continent. These reptiles remained key predators. Hunting mammals. Among the latest finds, there were particularly unusual marsupials, like the giant wombat with tusks, the strange, sloth-like marsupial bear, the huge kangaroo, and the wallaby. The largest of all marsupials was the giant kangaroo, weighing around 604 pounds, which makes it the largest known marsupial. The most dangerous among them was the Thylacoleo, a marsupial predator. Among the megafauna, there was also the giant marsupial Diprotodon, weighing 6,600 pounds, and other species that are still found in Australia today, such as emus, red kangaroos, and saltwater crocodiles. It was previously believed that the extinction of megafauna was the result of hunting by early humans and occurred immediately after their arrival in Australia. However, recent discoveries debunk this theory, proving that the ancient giants continued to live on the continent about 40,000 years ago, already after people had spread throughout Australia, who arrived there about 50,000 years ago as a result of migration from New Guinea. Instead, the extinction of megafauna coincided with deteriorating climate conditions in certain areas, combined with long-term ecological changes. Climate change led to changes in water resources and vegetation, and also an increase in the number of wildfires. Such a combination of factors could have had a devastating impact on the giant land and water creatures. Questions about the interaction between humans and megafauna are still important. Scientists are still searching for answers. How did people manage to survive alongside such dangerous and large animals during such significant changes in the environment? Scientists still have yet to find answers to these questions. About 110,000 years ago, the start of the last ice age caused sea levels to drop by 300 to 500 feet. Which revealed a vast continental shelf and connected the peninsulas of Java, Sumatra, and Borneo into a single landmass known as the Sunda continent. The southern part of the ancient continent, known as Sahul, connected the lands of modern-day Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania through land bridges. Archaeological evidence confirms that humans arrived in Australia about 65,000 years ago. The coastal areas of the prehistoric continent of Sahul are now underwater, and most of the findings have been discovered far from the shore. This suggests that people may have arrived in Sahul even earlier. By the end of the Ice Age, around 10,000 BC, the climate started to change. The average temperature was rising, and the sea level was rising. The Sunda continent broke apart, and along with it, the tribes living on the small islands and plains disappeared. That went underwater. Australia began to dry out, becoming covered in deserts, and over 7,000 years of gradual warming, it took on its modern climatic appearance. Many species of animals and plants went extinct, but humans managed to adapt. The tribes led a semi-nomadic lifestyle. Their routes covered great distances, and traditions were passed down from generation to generation through oral stories. Stone Age people achieved an optimal balance between their population and resources. Surpluses of goods were traded, and trade routes crossed all populated areas and nearby islands. People worked an average of 3 hours a day. They provided for all their needs, and the rest of their time was dedicated to rest, art, religion, and various rituals. To this day, stone sculptures with religious significance have been found, along with carvings on eucalyptus roots, shell ornaments, shields, and both ritual and combat tools. The oldest rock art was found in the north of the continent, in the Gobbermung Cave. Radiocarbon analysis of the charcoal near the kangaroo painting shows it to be 45,000 years old, though other evidence dates it to 28,000 years. Scientists still haven't reached a consensus on the age of this piece. Unfortunately, the time of the true giants is long gone. However, Australia still remains a continent that is home to the most incredible animals and reptiles. And now, friends, I want to make you a very interesting offer. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team if you have video editing skills. You can voice over videos in Russian, English, and other languages. Or you can write interesting scripts. We would be happy to work with you. Message our Telegram bot. The link is in the description. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.